We can start.
Okay. Ibon, hello everyone. Welcome to another panel discussion of COVID-19 impact on women-owned businesses globally. So this panel discussion is done with Women in Management in partnership with IFC, International Finance Corporation, powered by One Online, Maldives, and our local media partner is Daily Mirror Online. So there is a saying that if companies stop working, will the economy get affected? Or if the women stop shopping, will the economy get affected? So the COVID-19 has proven when women stop working, the economy got affected. So that's what we are going to talk about. So before that, let me tell you all about what is Women in Management. Women in Management is a professional women organization, which is for women in profession, careers, and businesses, founded in Sri Lanka, now in globally. Throughout last 10 years, we have recognized over 500 women under the top 50 professional and career women awards, but not forgetting our roots. We have empowered nearly 25,000 women locally on life and SME skills in Sri Lanka. So coming back to our topic, which is COVID-19, impact of women-owned businesses globally. As I said, this has positives and negatives toward the economy, but we will look at the positive side mostly because we are more focused on negatives, then we get negative results. So according to the Harvard Business Review, globally they said the women drive the world economy, and globally they say women control over $20 trillion in annual consumer spending, and that figure could climb as high as $28 trillion in the next years. So that's why I said if women stop shopping, it's automatically the business stop and the economy drops. But saying that, what has COVID-19 brought to women-owned businesses? Because when women-owned business are affected, it directly affect the business, not only the business, women also. No, but not forgetting that we are not just focusing on women, we are focusing on business and generally men and women working together. So the first round of questions to all the speakers I'm focusing on, because there has to be a self-introduction about the speakers. So the first I'll go to Lopa Rahman, who will be representing IFC for South Asia. Lopa, over to you, Lopa. So if you can just do a self-introduction, and also if you can tell us how the COVID-19 has affected the South Asian economy. Over to you, Lopa.
Uh, Thank you so much, Sulochana, for organizing this event. And when you called me, the first question I asked is maybe it's only a curfew that can keep you confined to your house because you're such an active person. But you said it was not the curfew regulations, it was a bird that had made a nest in your gate, and therefore you're unable to open your gate and go out. So even if you're confined to your house, your work has not stopped, and good to see that. And you've continued to carry on with these discussion sessions and knowledge sharing efforts. So hats off to you there. And also congratulations for another achievement and getting that recognition from UK.
Thank you.
Okay, so in my introduction, my name is Lopa Rahman, as Sulachana introduced me, and I work for IFC. I manage IFC's corporate governance advisory projects for South Asia. And for me, the countries that I operate in are India, Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, 5 countries. And the objectives of these projects are mainly to help improve the overall corporate governance standards and practices in South Asia, and also of the private sector companies. In Sri Lanka, particularly, we have a project that aims to improve the number of women on boards and in senior management. And the overall impact that we hope to achieve is that the companies are able to facilitate better financing by improving their governance structures, by improving the performance of the boards, and by improving the diversity and strength of the boards of the private sector companies. So our Sri Lanka project is supported by the government of Australia, and it's part of a broader work that we're doing under Women on Works program. Now, the question on the introduction about how the economy has been affected, and I will heavily quote from a report that has been published by the World Bank very recently, and the data is as latest as April 6th, and they published this earlier this month. End of April, and that's a report on World Bank's Economic Focus 2020, and that predicts that the experience of South Asia will be the worst in terms of economic performance in the last 40 years. And South Asia was earlier predicted to be the engine of growth for the global economy, but this crisis, unfortunately, will take a definite toll on South Asia. And earlier it was predicted that the growth would be 6.3%. And now the World Bank is projecting that it'll be around 1.2 to 2.8% growth. However, some of the countries that are heavily dependent on tourism, for example, will be worst affected. And they have also categorized in terms of countries where, for countries such as Bangladesh and India, will have growth, but very low growth. But countries such as Maldives and Sri Lanka, which are dependent on tourism and the service sector, will probably have negative or very little growth. And they're saying that because the service sector has been terribly impacted, restaurants are closed, shops are closed, and the government has imposed these restrictions. And one thing that this World Bank report used as an example is that Sri Lanka was one of the first countries to come up with these restrictions, even before India, Bangladesh, and other countries in South Asia. So there, Sri Lanka was definitely given a lot of credit in terms of putting in these restrictions, and we've also seen that being reflected in terms of the numbers of affected, which is quite low in Sri Lanka compared to India and Bangladesh. So I'll stop there in terms of the economic impact, and I'll carry on if there are other questions.
Thank you, Lopa. I'm coming to Devika. So, okay, Devika, now if you can do your introduction and explain how Canada is coping with COVID-19. Sorry, Devika, you're on mute. Devika, you're on mute.
Is that right?
Yeah, now okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Sulochana, for organizing this event. And hi, everybody. My name is Julian Devika Anthony, and I'm a barrister and solicitor in the province of Ontario. I have been a lawyer in Canada for over 10 years. I have my own firm named Anthony and Associates. Also, I have two offices, one in the city of Mississauga and the other one in the city of Toronto. I practice mainly residential and commercial real estate, corporate law, immigration, family and wills and estates. My two daughters have also joined our firm. My older daughter, Manelki Anthony, has been with me for 5 years. Now she also practices law in the state of California, USA. My youngest daughter just joined the firm and she practices family law. Our firm altogether have 4 women lawyers. So this is a brief introduction of me. So then I'll come to the next question. As for the status of COVID-19 pandemic in Canada. So our Canadian government have controlled it as much as the best of their ability, while allowing essential businesses like ourselves to run with great precautions. I reside in the province of Ontario, where from beginning of March have been emergency protocol. However, as of today, the Premier of Ontario and the medical and health officials have announced a three-stage global opening of the province. It's a gradual opening, which we've chosen loosen the emergency conditions and reopen the economy. There seems to be a light at the end of the tunnel, so we are hoping for that, for the best. Additionally, the government is helping and continue to help those who have affected due to COVID-19 by providing different method of assistance, we'll say the payment plans. For example, individuals get $2,000 a month if you have worked for more than 5,000, if you have earned more than $5,000 for the previous year. Where the qualifying businesses are provided with wage subsidies. In addition, providing rent relief and granting loans for commercial and businesses. The Premier, Mr. Ford, and the Prime Minister Trudeau have done a great job during this COVID-19. So actually speaking, we are lucky to be here. I heard that even the other countries are doing good, but I'm personally experiencing the Canadian lifestyle. So I believe, I have no doubt to say that we are blessed to be in this country. Thank you, Slo.
Thank you, Devika. Thank you so much. And coming back to Ms. Marika, if you can just do a self-introduction and explain how UK is working on COVID-19, please. Ms. Marika, you are also on mute. If you can unmute yourself, right. You're still on mute, Ms. Marika. You're still on mute.
All right.
Okay, now okay. Yes, yes, please.
Okay, I'm Karima Marika. I live in Harrow, Middlesex. I have 3 children. And also I work for the National Health Services. As you all know, I was the past mayor of Harrow. Very happily could say I became the first Sri Lankan Muslim woman to be elected as a councillor to the whole of Europe, as well as a Muslim mayor for Harrow, first woman. 3 children, they are grown up, they're doing very well. My daughter gone to Australia. Talking about COVID-19, it is a sad scenario. So first of all, I welcome all the communities who are involved in this world COVID-19 Solochana online, it's a conference which you have organized. So I says, Jai Shri Krishna, because we have 20,000 British in Harrow Borough, Gujarati communities. So I say, Jai Shri Krishna, Salam, Assalamu Alaikum, Wanakam, Aibowan, Sat Sri Akal, Namaste. So many communities. So I would like to welcome every community with full of respect. Because I think we respect, look at this COVID-19 as a holistic way. It has attacked not only one community, it has attacked everybody and attacked the businesses very, very badly. Britain has been affected very, very badly, which you all must have listened to the news. I'm not going to give the statistic of it, but I must tell you, the Prime Minister has given us grants to the councils. If I speak about Harrow, because I'm also involved in some businesses in Harrow. I'm a partner of a massage parlor called Yatra, Kerala Massage. With my schoolgirls, we have opened up. It's also a girl, and a saloon called Ayurvedic Saloon, Uma Ayurvedic Saloon, which is a great opportunity for people to come forward. So, but it is really, really affected, because I can see the grant is given to every council is very much limited, and Harrow got the lowest grant, business support. So with this COVID-19, we have lack of staff, and people can't pay the employees who worked for 1 month areas, rent areas, the housing area. So many areas are there. So it is really affected, particularly being a woman. It affects so much. I can't, there's beyond words, I can tell you. So I'm not taking time because it's a 2-minute thing which we have to speak, Solochana. So basically, that side of it is very bad. Still, they are assessing for grants. They are because lack of staff operating the councils because of the virus, and basically working in the National Health Services. I'm very happy to say I'm working in the front line. I was affected as symptoms of COVID-19 symptoms because the unit which I work for mental health. I work for mental health, and I think it's sad, as you know, that, but I can see now it is a pandemic and the world is being affected, giving all the PPE, but it is not enough. I'm telling you, I can loudly shout and tell it's not enough, because it is sad situation, because people who come in mental health side of it, particularly women, because they think about the women, children, are gone into severe depressions. So, you know, mental health is a sad situation in the whole world. So I can say on that, and I will stop on it. So statistically, uh, uh, I should thank the business secretary and the grammar. They have supported the grants, but it's not enough. They have pick and choose and given for boroughs, not equally. They have given very weakly to my borough where I'm living as an elected member, which is, I'm very sad, because the officers can do so much with that little money to give to the business to be run. So I hope and pray, well, 11th of May, we can go back to normality, and they will do something, get back to normality, and the economic will go. So really, as you said, Sulochana, without the women, that you can say women have not shopped, women have not done a lot of things, that everything is standstill. So women power is strong. So in that note, I'm going to stop what I'm talking about.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Yes, we also hope that even in Sri Lanka 11th, everything will be back to normal. Coming back to you, Sharala from Malaysia, over to you.
Hi, greetings from Malaysia. Tulo, thank you for organizing this. So it's interesting to be with, such amazing panel in different countries to share this, right? Always being a woman entrepreneur and living here, you can always feel like, you're alone with that and your country is alone. So when you share these things, it feels like, a community getting together. So a little bit of introduction about myself. So I'm Sharala, founder and CEO of CATS, which is a data analytics and an AI company. So I lived in Sweden for many years, and I came back 10 years ago. So Sweden has made to the news for how they are dealing with COVID. And it's interesting to see how Malaysia, where I'm from, how we're doing with that, and I'll tell a bit. So I started off an analytics company very early, 2013, 2014. The reason behind that was to drive change and to work on Industry 4.0 at that time. With this COVID-19, this has expedited all that effort that we've been trying to put in place for many years to come. Yeah. So that's my background. I got 2 kids and they're still young. That's one of the reasons I moved back to Malaysia, to have that family support to help bring them up. As for Malaysia and how we're dealing with COVID-19, I think we have made it to the news for exciting output. I think till to date, we only have about 105 deaths in Malaysia. Today, 4th of May, the Prime Minister has announced that we could have a conditional MCO. So most businesses have been opened up because we have managed to flatten the curve. So I think if you're looking for some good news, hello, there we are. Malaysia is doing great. Human life is really important. Now, the dark side is, of course, the economic impact to this, right? Our Prime Minister made an announcement last week that Malaysia has been losing 2 billion ringgit per day. That's about 500 million US a day. And to date, you know, we have lost about 14.6 billion. And we are not alone, right? The whole world is affected by that. Malaysia is relatively a small country. So of course we have tourism, the oil price has impacted, and the way that the government is dealing, like any other country, like how Devika was telling, we have stimulus package for companies from small, medium enterprise, macro. The government has offered that to stimulate the GDP. The other part they have done is, which I'm very, very excited, is also stimulus packet for businesses to adopt digitization. And I think that's very important, the way that we can come out from it. There was a very specific need for that, and I thought it was great the government thought about that. And just for some stats, SMEs in Malaysia contribute 38% to the GDP. So can you imagine that with this pandemic, SMEs are affected so badly, and that will have affect the GDP, you know, altogether. So the government is very, very conscious about that. And what they're doing is, human life is important, but they are looking at really stimulating the economy. So when we come out from this, you know, it's easy to get back. And I think there's going to be an announcement from the government end of May to look at what is going to happen moving forward, which the questions that we will be answering in the second round, right? Job losses and all that. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Coming back to Shia from Sri Lanka. Shia, if you can do an introduction and speak about Sri Lankan status, please. Shia, you're on mute, Shia. Yeah.
Thank you, Sulochana, for this invitation. I think I can't, yeah. Yes, it's a pleasure to be here. So my name is Shia Vikramasinghe, and I'm the group CEO of the CBL Group. We are essentially manufacturers of FMCG foods, some of the largest brands in Sri Lanka, and we are also in retail. So the categories we are involved in include biscuits, chocolates, cereals, coconut products, spices, organic fruits, yeah. And we operate in Sri Lanka as well as out of Bangladesh and Myanmar, and we're just about setting an operation in Ghana. For us, the company, we are very involved in backward integration too, and work with a farmer base of over 10,000. So if we look in our supply chain, we actually touch upon most aspects of with regard to manufacture and sectors in society, from farmers to small retailers who distribute our goods. Coming on to Sri Lanka, we have actually been having a curfew in many districts since the 20th of March. Sri Lanka, up to now, has managed COVID-19 very well. We have only a little over 700 cases and 7 deaths, with a large percentage of people recovering very fast. But while the lockdown has helped with this, it has also been a huge economic impact to the country. And quite apart from this, two of the largest sectors in the country, that being apparel and tourism, have completely crashed at the moment. We are hopeful that these sectors will pick up in the coming months. But if you look at the employment these two sectors gives, it is quite significant. And in the coming months is only when we will see the total impact on the country. The SME sector has obviously been very impacted. When a country goes down, it's coming on over 6 weeks now, since several districts have been with curfew. While the government allows essential services to function through special approval processes, it has been hard to manage, and most factories are just starting to operate. a lot of SME businesses are still unable to open properly. So the economic toll is very large. Given that both the apparel industry and hospitality bring in dollars into our country, our balance of payment also have got affected negatively. So right now, Sri Lanka is trying to come out of this, and I think we will get opportunities. But I also believe this has opened a lot of opportunities for our country going forward, which I'm sure we'll get an opportunity to talk about. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Shia. Thank you very much. And coming to Minha from Maldives, Minha, will you be able to do an introduction and talk about how it has affected Maldives, please? Over to you.
Hi, thank you so much for inviting me, and good evening to all of you. Without a doubt, the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic is affecting all businesses globally. And I'm Minha Faiz. I'm president of Women in Management Maldives, as well as chairperson of one media group in the country. When we are talking about the pandemics that has affected the crisis in the country, the negative effects on women-owned businesses is are disproportionate. Because we are already we were already in a vulnerable position, and then because of the pandemic, the vulnerabilities have become forefront. So going to an overview of the crisis in the Maldives right now, we have about 527 positive cases. Community spread in the country just started recently on 15th of April, but our first case was found on March, 7th of March, where there was a case, one of the tourists was found. I mean, it was a doctor who was working in the resort, which was found. But we have had a state of emergency from 12th of March, and then our borders were closed on 27th of March. But the country went on a full lockdown in April once the community spread started. So until then, our offices were working, businesses were operating. But since we depend on tourism, even though the community spread, or even though we didn't see the COVID here in the country, the economy started impacting way before ahead. When it comes to females working in forefront line, most of our females are from the health sector. So definitely we have a lot of females who have left their families and who are living in self-isolation because they want to serve the nation. And even in police and MNDF, we have the same situation. Even in media, media has been affected because we rely on the sponsors and marketing promotions from the companies, and as soon as the economy got affected, all the companies cut down, they cut down and terminated the sponsorship agreements. So thus the medias have been affected, and we have a lot of female journalists, and media is a field where we can't stop because of anything, especially in a crisis. Our work becomes double. We work 24/7, and all these everybody who is working in the media field are doing a 24/7 covering the news and taking the responsibility on their shoulders. Regarding the positive cases, we have only about 35% of females and 2 pregnant ladies. Most of our cases are actually migrant workers, so thus more females are being found, identified. In nationwide in the Maldives, because less females own businesses, the comparison is very less. The effect on female owned businesses is less here, but we do not have any research as such at the moment to evaluate the number of women affected. But UN Maldives have started to compile information and to see how this is affecting the women in the country. But since the women who are working they are into the semis, like for example, salons, tailor shops, and bakers, and even though they have few staffs, their overheads still remain constant even with the lockdown. So they still have to pay the staff salaries and the rents and bills. Government has announced relief packages for 3 months so that people can actually apply for it, and it covers the basic expenses for 3 months of any business. But there are a lot of concerns in getting funds and getting it delay and being it insufficient, and especially for women, because they have more responsibility because they manage a family as well on top of managing the business. So their work has become double even with the lockdown. But we also do understand, especially in a country like Maldives, because we are a developing country, we depend on tourism, and since tourism has
The
been
tourism question, Mina, I had to disturb. I had to ask from you on the second round because
Okay.
that come you as a second talk. Okay.
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 So
Can I move on with the other question to Hannah? Then I'll come back to you. So to Hannah, because Hannah, USA is most affected country at the moment, and there are a lot of negatives and positives going on with the USA. So you can do an introduction and explain to us how USA is coping with.
Yep, of course. So hi everyone, I'm Hannah Siegerts. I was born and raised in Colombo, Sri Lanka, along with 24 brothers and sisters. Yes, you heard that right, 24, but that's a story for another day. I'm the founder and CEO of Pair Partners, and I'm also a senior consultant for top tech companies in the United States. A couple of examples of the top tech companies that I work with are Microsoft and T-Mobile. Also, I am a professor at Northwest University, teaching innovation and research. I enjoy corporate speaking a ton because I love getting to know people and working with different people. I also enjoy mentoring and helping people raise their game in the workforce. So to give you a quick intro on what's happening, or maybe a quick update, I should say, on what's happening in the US with COVID. I know a lot of people are talking about negatives and positives, and there's a lot of negative going on right now as well. The stats for this is 1.1 million cases have been confirmed. I know the numbers are climbing as we even speak, right? But 68,000 deaths as of, I think, right before I got on this call. And then also 178,000 recoveries reported. COVID-19 has definitely caused a huge dent in the US economy. It definitely has. And as of last week, 22 million people filed for unemployment. When I hear these numbers, my heart races because 22 million people filing for unemployment is huge. It's huge, and it's going to definitely take an effect. And that's just as of last week of people filing. There are people who filed and also gotten rejected. So there's a lot of conversation around that, but also the plus side to it. The United States is actually doing a ton to help people as well, right? With the stimulus check, that's one thing. So the stimulus check has been helping individuals who make less than a certain amount. And the US government and the IRS has cut multiple checks so that people can, pay their rent or, make payments for, food and essential needs. So that's something that the US has definitely done. Another thing is the US has made 122 million payments of a total of 207 billion to residents in the United States who qualify. So that could mean, their business is going, their business is out of business and they need money to keep afloat, different things like that. There's small businesses. There's also corporate companies that are helping these small businesses as well. And so there's a ton of, sadness going on in the country, but there's a ton of amazing things that people are doing to support each other and come around each other. And one thing I do have to say, Dr. Sulochana, with you bringing all of us on this call, and you have so many representatives from different countries, that speaks to how we are all fighting this together. We're all in this together, and we're all one and working on this together. So thanks everyone for taking the time to join on here as well.
Thank you, Hannah. Someone has asked if it is 22 million, is there's a gender difference, how many women and how many men you all have found out, or just still you're on just saying that 22 million are
right
employed?
Now, yeah, right now it's 22 million total.
Okay, thank you. Because there was a question. So I'm coming to Sharala. Sharla, they say that over 2 million Malaysians may be left jobless once MCO is over. How this will affect women-owned businesses in Malaysia, Sharla? What do you,
So,
Sharla?
yeah, thank you, Sulo. 2 million, so it's not 22 million like US, so maybe we should count our blessings.
Yeah.
2 million out of that, 64% of them are non-skilled workers. So that's the number that's going to be, yeah. So I think that helps, I think, to look at the numbers, so that the government is looking at, you know, one of the talks that I've heard our Ministry of Finance was talking about, you know, how do we, you know, it's all about getting the economy going, keeping the GDP up, you know, so that when we come out, then we can come out quickly. And I think part of that is the government is seriously addressing the unemployable situation. And one of the things he said, and I liked about that, is this will allow Malaysia to come out differently, right? So they're looking at digital economy. So Malaysia has started the journey of digital economy somewhere in 2010. So we have all the infra. What the COVID-19 has done is brought forward everybody who thought, you know, you don't fix. So we all have these, business people have these, traditional people have these, don't fix what's not broken, right? So whatever has worked for them is fantastic, now it's broken. And all that effort that they've done, you know, women have, you know, I know it's a very sexist to say that, no, we have always been a bit more resilient, right? We always figure out something. And I think women who have, you know, a lot of women in Malaysia do business even as a secondary income. So we are very, you know, second income. So we do a lot of small, you know, businesses selling this, you know, doing food, you know, as a you know, as a secondary living. So now that allowed them to get in a digital platform, people use various platforms, the government has built platforms, Facebook. So we realized that a lot of us have got into that, started using as a measure of, I hate using the word, but now you're forced to use this social media, digital way of delivering stuff to people. So I think women have got on board because we have a great infrastructure. I guess the initial stage for everybody was a shock. You know, not understanding how to deal with it, not only from the business point of view, but, you know, those moms who are staying at home, kids cannot go to school.
So that means work from home has impacted positively or negatively in Malaysia?
I
work from home.
I think the first 5 weeks, I think people were struggling to deal with that. At least the first 3-4 weeks, people like, you know, I potentially could now have a BBC situation where my son would walk in and, you know, start going, Mama, I'm hungry, right? But I think we have all learned to deal with that because it's okay to work from home. It's okay to have that kind of disruption. Culturally, we are the kind of people who we want to meet people to talk. And now to do this Zoom and virtual took a little bit of adjustment. But I think we have been more productive, at least in my company, we've been more productive in delivering things than we would have done in the office.
Thank you, because I have to go back to Shia from Sri Lanka. Shia, we just coming out of the East attack, and now we are locked down nearly for 1.5 months. And even though we say we are a resilient country, we come back, we have 30 years war, we had tsunami, we had the East attack, all that. Again, another disaster came. Do you think that we are really coping positively? Do you think Sri Lankan SMEs, businesses, has a future in Sri Lanka?
Well, resilient, though, I must say, we, as a nation, we have been incredibly resilient. Because it is a question sometimes I look back and reflect and wonder, you know, we've been through so much in my lifetime. We've been through so much, but as a country with all these, you know, negative numbers being thrown around, we have always prevailed, and I think maybe that's something to say about the spirit of the people here. I think, and I don't think Sri Lanka is any different, that the SMEs are the backbone of any economy. And so, yes, they need to prevail. And I think what we are seeing is a huge challenge for SMEs to survive. I mean, that there are different industries will come out of this COVID-19 situation in differently. Obviously, certain industries, like if you're in the food supply chain, in distribution, logistics connected to food and agriculture in particular, I think people will do okay, if not can do very well if they adapt to the changes needed. Obviously, one of the biggest hit industries is hospitality, and this is a sector where you get a lot of SME businesses, and I think it's going to be a lot more challenging. But they say in times of crisis, really, there's always opportunity. And I think what people must look at, whether you are a small industry or a large one, is my industry going to survive the post-COVID? What are the possible changes that are going to happen? And if my industry is not one of those priority ones, what should I be doing? I think there's going to be a very large focus on agriculture and agri-tech. That going forward, we have seen overnight a non-existent digital online platforms within 24 hours in some cases have come up. When the government locked down in March, there wasn't a clear methodology for buying essential foods, which created a space for entrepreneurs to come up with ideas to plug that gap. And people who never bought online are buying online, and will probably continue to do so, realizing the advantages of it. So this is what I think what we call resilient. Given a push, a solution is brought out. And it's not to say that with this lockdown there's been a lot of hardship. I think a lot of people found it hard to find food, which we don't see. The government, from their point too, I think worked on it very fast. We also have a very strong rural network, rural and urban area a network among the socially disadvantaged. So I think there was help that was given, but going forward, our government cannot afford to give handouts. So post-COVID, we need to actually understand the possible opportunities that are going to arise from this. So but one area for sure is agriculture. The country has banned several agriculture imports already. And so we have to look inwards. And to me, this is a huge opportunity for SMEs, whether it is in agriculture per se or supporting industries for that. Sri Lanka doesn't have large, Sri Lanka land base is owned by smallholders. So this is where I think the SME sector has a huge role to play to sustain the economy.
Personally, Ashian, you have given employment, I think, over 1,000 employees, right? So most of the companies are cutting down the employees, and how your company is coping with that, and since you're directly working with agriculture also and the supply chain, how you think that you all can look at in the long run? Do you think they can create more opportunities for employment and small businesses on their supply chain? This is a question which has come online now.
Absolutely, Sulochana. So as I said, we are one of the fortunate industries that almost from from the day one of when this curfew was imposed, we made arrangements working within health ministry guidelines to work, because I mean, the food industry is also an essential service. So our group employs over 6,000 people directly and thousands more indirectly when it comes via the distribution networks, and we have over 10,000 farmers in our database. Already, this is a planting season. Sri Lanka has two main agri seasons, and already from what we can do, we have already increased our requirements. If Sri Lanka is to become is to focus more on agriculture, there are some challenges, and one of the biggest ones is planting material. You can't decide to wake up one day and say, I'm going to double my agriculture output. There are a whole lot of processes that go. So the government actually has to take a lot of decisions, timely decisions, in order for us to ramp up our agriculture output, and it can definitely be done. As I said, a lot of our land is owned by smallholders, and this is the opportunity. If I take an example, if you take the tea industry, which has the large plantations as well as the smallholders, consistently the smallholders have done better, because when it is your own business, the focus is very strategic, and you can actually come out of it better. So I think this is a beautiful opportunity for Sri Lanka, which has been really lagging in its agriculture practices. It's not modernized. This is the opportunity for us to really look at agri-technology, to increase our yields, to have more sustainable technologies that are good for the country as well. And this in turn, with more employment being generated from other areas, this is where villages can become self-sufficient. But it's not obviously not going to just happen.
It's not going to happen overnight. That take time.
No, and also we have to put in processes. You know, as I said, you can't double agriculture output overnight. But this government seems to have the right focus. So I'm very positive that we can do much more. And as a company, we are actually engaging and putting in actually resources to see that this happens.
Okay, thank you, Shah. Thank you so much for that insight. Mrs. Marikar, I'll come to you straight away. UK didn't lock down till it last minute. When it happened, how the businesses has cope up? And also, I read an article that's saying the domestic violence has increased. I don't think it's only UK, even in Sri Lanka, it has increased. I saw in many countries. So we'll first speak about after the lockdown, how UK operated on businesses, then we'll come on to the domestic violence. Over to you, Ms. Maika.
Thank you, Sulochana. I think time limit is 2 minutes, and so I'm going to summarize it very shortly because I would like everybody to speak. Sulochana, the thing is, when it came the lockdown, I think Britain took it very late. I think London took it very late. They should have taken action as ASAP. Now the National Health Services are given priority, which is very good, and they respect the frontline services. So I'm a little bit upset about it because I'm not here to talk politically. I'm talking neutrally. So that affected Britain to come to a situation that we are closely now, like Italy. Do you understand what I mean? So it is sadly, because I don't want to give on to the statistics, because I really came to Uxbridge for my personal thing. So I'm really calling from my car. So I studied about this conference today, and I have the statistic in front of me. I should have given you all the statistic, but coming to the point, the taking late, and earlier the National Health Services were not given priority, this affected the community very badly. because they didn't have testing kits, and they didn't have the PPE. The staff were not there, and a lot of things, problems were there. So that affected in the community wise at COVID-19. Regarding the business, it was like a bomb just dropped in their heads. So it has to be shut down, and a lot of people have lost their day-to-day means. Well, like I know I am also very close associated with the estate agent, and I know his own. He's also a Sri Lankan, and his tenants are not paying the rent. Where can the tenants pay the rent? Because they don't have the money, because they are like I think the Sri Lankan person who spoke explained and told nicely that not I think the Malaysian, but the skilled workers doesn't have money because they can't go and work outside because of the virus, the quarantine. So that is a big problem, because people don't have money in their hands. They don't have, so they are using their savings and getting on. And the government has also, like my own son has is out of work, working from home, but then he's now voluntarily working in a hospital just to support. I'm very proud of it. My son is just working because he's an IT strategic officer, but he's not doing that. But because he is laid out, he's paid by the government or something like that, a bursary, and he's working voluntarily to help the like the frontline services there. But likewise, it is affected one to one. Everybody is affected very, very badly. Richers may be using, rich people must be using their savings to live, but people working hard and no savings are suffering to the teeth, if I put it in that frame. They are really suffering a lot. If the business people can't pay their staff money, they're like, now we, as I said, I'm part of a hairdresser, the hairdresser salon. The people who work, no salaries are paid. Now the yatra, the massage parlor yatra, everything is done. First of all, the opening ceremony was due. They have spent, but that again it is collapsed. So likewise, everybody is hit badly into the pocket of the virus. Small businesses, particularly small businesses, in London, in Britain, particularly if I talk about Harrow is hit very, very badly. Coming to domestic violence, it's a very, very good topic, and I will speak from my heart. I'm a woman who went through domestic violence, and I suffered a lot, and I feel for somebody. Domestic violence hitting there is because they don't have money, they don't have food. But I must very, very say, in domestic violence should not be tolerated. They should not be tolerated. A man can't raise her hand to a woman. Woman was given priority for in the faith. I believe, as a Muslim, right, that the 3 times the Prophet was asked, "Who do you love the most?" It was the mother. 3 times. The silver, the gold, and the silver, the bronze, and the gold was given to a mother. So by our Prophet, which my faith, I believe, and in every faith it says the same thing. So I think domestic violence, I have suffered a lot, and I'm very proudly saying I will not tolerate any person, any country of the Asian country, anywhere, that domestic violence should be not tolerated. The person who hits a woman is doesn't have something in their head, or something lost the plot, if I put it in my English. Sake of domestic violence, there must be a crisis, because when you don't have the means to do things, it goes to an argument. Again, who suffers? A woman suffers the most, because the children ask for things. Children wants to be looked after very well. So where is the money? Where is the money? There is no money. So domestic violence links with the money side of it, business side of it, and everything. Domestic violence should have a law. And I think I'm very proud to say in England, if you have a domestic violence issue, if you call the 999, the guy or the, even for the men, if a woman is hitting, is arrested immediately. And I can say sadly to all these women in this lovely panel, the eloquent panel, which Sulochana you said, I have lost broken my hand. I have lost my eye. This was so, but it's not. I'm not proudly talking. I'm telling you. But don't give up in your life. As a woman, stand up for your means. If I can achieve so much in the UK, I came to have a married life and have a just normal life because I come from a fantastic family from Sri Lanka, and I'm very proud to say about it. My parents were in the political arena. My brother is still in the political, but for that reason, I'm telling you, I don't need to come here to suffer, but it happened. That was my fate. And I took it very, I took it and I challenged it, and I brought up my 3 children, and my 3 children are doing so well. With my dear mother passed away in 2013, got her support and I brought her up. But domestic violence, in short notes, I say, nobody should go through that. No woman should go through that, or no man should go through that. So it is, again, when this domestic violence links with mental health, mental health should be prioritized. This in the UK, mental health long ago was not respected, but now it is respected. It is loudly and clearly heard. There is an issue for mental health. So it's all links: domestic violence, mental health. It links together. So in that note, I can say the topic is businesses. I'll tell you, every business in Harrow will be hit badly because we can't. I'm talking about Harrow because the funding for the grant is very low from within all the councils. So it will be hit badly. Lot of people will be redundant.
Yes.
They will lose their jobs. It is sad situation.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank
The
you so
sad
much.
situation in England. I'm waiting. The quarantine is finishing and the ban is lifted to come to Sri Lanka. I am coming back to Sri Lanka for 1 month just to get a herbal support and pampering myself. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So I'll come back to Lopa. Lopa, if it can speak on how IFE has looked at women in boards and women in work position due to the COVID-19, because it was a lot of y'all worked so hardly to get women into board and women into the high position and women into work. But COVID-19 changed it like it's a nightmare. Will you think it will stop, or will it continue, or will it slow down? And again, I had another question, because many of us ask, is there any financial assistance programs ongoing or available through IFC for women-owned businesses? Over to you, Lopa.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for that question. So, on your first question, to see what will be the state of women in senior management and on boards, because when we started working on this project, the percentage of women on boards was around 8.2%. Which was back in 2018. Then in 19, in our report, we saw it moved up to 8.5%. And then this year, early in March, during International Women's Day, when we launched our Ring the Bell initiative, and then we worked with the stock exchange, we saw it at 10%. And this was a combination of our efforts with our partners, with you, with the of directors, as well as the SEC and the Ministry of Finance, and a mandatory, first a voluntary requirements to have at least 10% women on boards, and that to be moved up gradually, what they call progressive quotas. So to answer your question, I think it's a little early to tell at the moment if there will be going back to the status, or will there be a progression in the what we have achieved so far. So it's really early to say, but to give you a bigger and a broader answer, I think there are three things that are affecting practically the way we women are working. So one is the macroeconomic situation, and that no one has control over. So I think we can take comfort in understanding that we're not in this alone, and everybody is being affected. So we can share, through forums such as this, or through other personal networks, through friends. And I have seen on Facebook and social media that people are themselves taking the initiative to organize a lot of these social discussions on the web, to understand what they're doing, what other businesses are doing, how individuals managing their situation. So the macroeconomic impact, I think, can be mitigated in a number of ways. On the professional level, I have heard reviews from various people, and these are like bittersweet experiences. Some women, for example, in very crowded cities such as Mumbai and Bangladesh, are saying, well, I'm working from home, so I don't have to spend hours in traffic, and I can channelize that kind of energy and that time, and also are not used to that stress of commuting to daily work. I can channelize all of those energies into my professional work. Some people are also saying that I can manage my time better, so it's up to me how I manage my schedule. And so I don't have to do this right now. I can do it whenever I have the opportunity. I can sit with my kids to have lunch. So I can use that effectively. But on the other side, there are many women who are saying that initially it was very difficult. I think Charla alluded to that, to kind of set yourself a regular schedule of activity. So how do you differentiate between the time that you're allocating to your work versus the time that you're allocating to your home? So home, work from home or work for home, one needs to understand clearly the time that you're giving into that. So scheduling your activities now becomes very important. And the third area, I think, or on own personal level, is where women themselves need to kind of come up and not take this as a challenge. But I like the way Shia put it. There are various other opportunities, and Shia mentioned that you can spin this around and use that opportunity to your benefit. So on the personal level, I think people can look at, from a macro perspective, what are some of the business opportunities, but also on your own personal development, since you have that time now, to use some of the online learning materials to look out what is available. Is there a degree? Is there a skill that I don't have at the moment? Something that I can gain through, not waste this time that I am at home, and use that the time to learn new things. And gig economy is certainly something that's going to open up opportunities for women. You will make the world around us is changing, and this COVID, I think, has given us that sense that it will completely change the way we work. So if there are the skills that you can learn, if there are information that you need to gain, or any of the how the gig economy operates, if there are things that will be able to put you into various positions and places, I think it's high time, or it's a great avenue for women to now step up and make avail of those opportunities. So to answer the question, I mean, it's really early to tell, but I think once we are back into what can be the new normal, is when we'll be a bit better able to understand what is the position right now of women on boards and in senior management. In terms of answering the second question that you asked on IFC, what can IFC make available? So as you know, IFC is the investment arm of the World Bank Group. So we provide, IFC provides financing to private sector companies. That is our main business. But we also provide what we call advisory services. So we help to build the market for more companies to flourish and therefore get better financing. And our overall objective is to see economies grow. So we are part of the World Bank Group, and the World Bank has announced fast track financing facility of $14 billion, and that is for overall globally. And out of that, $8 billion is what IFC will be facilitating to private sector companies. Now, phase one of that is where we will be lending out to our own portfolio clients. So not new clients, but our existing clients and those who are finding it difficult to survive throughout this difficult period. So that's where we'll be helping out our existing clients. So that's on the financing side. On the advisory side, and since I come from a corporate governance background, and out of my 18 or 20 years of professional experience, 16 years has been in corporate governance. So I just have to speak about what we have done from the corporate governance side to support businesses. And one of the quick elements that we have developed is a tip sheet for companies to kind of see how they can navigate through this crisis. So it's not a crisis that's impacting one particular business or one particular country. It's, as they say, a global pandemic affecting everyone. So the crisis management is something that all companies will be put to test, and it's an acid test for most businesses. And also it's putting the leadership of countries as well as companies to test. So the countries that will emerge out more positively, and we've seen some examples from some of the countries that have been able to overcome this crisis, are the ones where the leadership has shown more strategic guidance and being resilient. And I think for the companies it's the same. So the CEOs that will show better leadership, will show more empathy, will be the ones that will be victorious and will come out more positively from this crisis. And I love the way Shia put it, to look at better opportunities and see how your businesses can be using those opportunities to flourish. So what we have done is given out a tip sheet and to kind of support and help companies to understand what are the things that they can do. So how do you set up a crisis management team? Are you using your own the skills within the organization to come up with an impact workforce? Are you using some of the scenarios? What kind of crisis management scenarios are you putting through? On internal control systems, we are giving tips on how you can make your internal systems more robust, how you can be better at risk management. IT and cybersecurity are becoming very, very critical now that everybody is working from home. Food safety is becoming critical. So how can you support your employers through telecommuting or other methods of working? And then coming up with an overall strategy by way of which you can manage kind of this crisis. And that can be something which can be used for any other crisis that the businesses may face in future. I've seen, like in my experience in Sri Lanka, and I've been here for over 2 years now, that and if I compare with Bangladesh and India, I've seen that people here are very patient. They show a lot of respect to the rules and regulations. I've seen queues being in straight line for 3 hours in grocery stores, and these are like people who can afford to shop in US or UK, but very, very patient and resilient and very gentle. And I've also seen many of the businesses really spin this around. So Pick Me is a great example how they've been able to spin this around into more positive and really doing that grocery delivery. And many women are saying, well, this is how I'll be doing my grocery in the future. There's no need to go to a store anymore because they're delivering very good products. And then I take bread from a woman who has a store. She's French, but she's been living in Sri Lanka for a number of years in Havelock Road. And she now has, she's delivering door to door. And she's like sitting next to the lorry driver she's using. So people have really come out in different ways to manage this crisis. So I think, on a positive note, that's how the crisis management, the strategy development, engaging other stakeholders, listening to your suppliers, your staff, having that greater empathy, how the businesses come out of this. Yeah.
Yeah, as we say, when you really hit the ground, you will want to get up, and then you will find ways of coming out. So that's how it has been for everyone. I think whole world is finding ways to come out, not just sitting there and saying that virus is going to win. So that's how the businesses are developed, through finding solutions. That's why the businesses are there. So coming out, I'm putting this to Devika. Devika, it's over to you. Even though Canada was affected very badly, but it was controlled very well comparing to other countries. And I think you once said you all Canadians are well disciplined, so I agree with that. But how is the status of business and employment due to the COVID-19 in Canada? And the second question which comes to you is has the virus affected you directly to your business, positively or negatively? Because you have been very busy. So I think it has been positively affected you, Devika. Over to you, Devika.
Yes, Sulochana, thank you. Thank you very much. So, because I have given limited time, so I should straight away come to the question. So what is the status of businesses as a result of COVID-19 in Canada? So when I come to that, I should say the government of Canada has allowed only essential businesses to be open right now. So this includes obviously the legal services, food services, transportation, social services, etc. So, and also even the LCBOs where they sell liquor. So actually that's a good thing because people are at home, like Marika said, so the violence, like domestic violence, it's not improving. I don't know, like I have heard few stories, but Canadians, as you said, Sulochana, they are very disciplined. So they are managing. So even though, even in my business, like all the courthouses are closed, but to say like in all provinces, the courts are closed, but still they have quickly implemented ways to file and to do things online. So there are ways. So that's the best part in Canada, or the Western countries, I believe, they implement rules and regulations right on time. So most businesses are able to work from home, still operate the same, and technology has helped them a lot. So businesses have found ways to still social distancing with protective and safety methods, and operate to the public. So government has implemented strict social distancing rules. I mean, even if they disobey, they are not, they will put a fine on them. So there are very harsh fines, like even up to 10,000. If you, like for an example, if a salon is open and functioning, or in a basement or whatever, if they found out, then they will be fined. So likewise, there are strict rules. Government, like I said before, has aided businesses very well. They provide wage subsidies, loans to the businesses to keep their employees and to run the businesses when the economy reopens, at least. Like they give interest-free loans, and there are so many, what do you call, like so many opportunities has been given. So then the businesses can reopen, and then they can run after the emergency rules relaxes. As of today, some businesses are opening gradually, allowing employees to start work again, ensuring all social distancing protocols are in place. So gradually, they have introduced 3 steps, like I said. So gradually, they will be opening few public places, more essential businesses will be listed. So that's how they're planning. So by the 3rd step, I believe most of the businesses and the public places will be open. I don't think that it somewhere in June, July, so it will be normal. So businesses like, even if your business is affected, I believe that you should find ways to cost cut. Like example, reduce on marketing. I believe like there are few, I have given a thought for this kind of methods that you should implement. The focus on cost-effective channels like advertising, like you don't have to spend that much of funding for the advertising if you find like free way of advertising. So the technology is now so advanced, so you can find ways. And also free up your time with different kind of tools. Like you can partner with your similar businesses and try to implement something to improve your businesses. Explore different kind of marketing strategies. Explore different kind of hiring. So like when you, especially in Toronto, the real estate is very expensive. So like if you introduce the work from home, so then you don't spend that much of money on real estate. So it's a big, huge cost cut for the businesses. So likewise, so this situation you can use to implement new opportunities and new methods. So likewise, the businesses are, most of the businesses are affected, but at the same time, I should say that there are ways that you can overcome any situation. So you have to think positively, so then you can overcome the situation. Yes.
Thank you, Devika. Thank you. Hannah, I'm coming to you. After Hannah, Minha, get ready with your this thing. So Hannah, you know, you always talk about, you know, working from home and technology, innovation, all that, right? So this COVID-19 is actually, I would say, give a lot of opportunities for women, especially if you speak about me. I'm not someone who like want to stay at home and do cooking, but I have become a good cook, right? So because of YouTube. So like that, there are a lot of opportunities are now creating for women. So how do you put that into words and tell women, okay, even though now you have lost your job, through technology, you can find opportunities due to COVID-19. That's the first question I'm asking. And the second one, now you hire employees from Sri Lanka and South Asia mainly. And I remember you were saying that there are so much of IT opportunities, you don't need to travel. So how this COVID-19 can give employment when the South Asia are mainly affected on unemployment now? How can you help them? Over to you.
So great question. So speaking on first-hand experience on the work from home side of things, since I'm here in Sri Lanka, right, I came on vacation and I was not able to go back to the US. I've had to adjust my schedule as well, working from home, but not just working from home, but working US hours. So I work at night while everyone here in Sri Lanka is asleep, right? There's a lot of people working like that on different time zones. So that's been an adjustment for me, especially. The work from home side of things, in my line of work, we've always had the option from working from home either 2 to 3 days a week or sometimes 5 days, depending on which team you're working on. So I would definitely say that the main part of working from home for businesses is they lose a lot of employee morale, right? Because you're not face to face with your employees, you're not face to face with your teams, right? And a lot of times face to face does develop that skill of, you know, really working with your employees and boosting that interaction, which boosting interaction then automatically gives you higher production because more people want to work well for you, right? But the other part of it is that, you know, things will not be the same after this, right? Because think about the companies who felt, no, working from home is not the thing for my company, I need people to come into work. At this side, they've actually changed their perspective and now they know, okay, even if I thought that my teams cannot work from home, this situation has made me feel, okay, we still can be productive and we still can move on. However, it depends on the industry that you're in. For technology companies, there are multiple technology companies that I've worked with. One side says, no, we can't work from home, and the other says one says we can't work from home and one says we can work from home. So I think the company's shift in perspective is definitely changing because of these times, right? And then your second question was around how can women maybe work from home in the IT industry. Is that right, Dr. Silochana? Okay, perfect. So with that, how women can work remotely from home. So think
You are
about.
right. You are right. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
perfect. No, you're fine. I think we have one person on our panel who is in AI and analytics. I think, yeah, I think we have one person on our panel who works on that, I think from Malaysia, right? And so one exciting piece of that is AI and machine learning is a huge topic nowadays, right? So for AI and machine learning to work, for us to train computers to think like us and spit out information, people are the ones who have to train these machines, right? So there's so many AI and machine learning companies that are hiring people to work from home and train their machine learning models. So these are huge parts of opportunities for people to wherever they are in the world, right? To jump into companies like this, work from home, raise your family, and these IT companies are not going anywhere because they support the huge technology fields that we're working in today. So for definitely for IT, on the IT side of things, if anyone who's on this call is wanting an opportunity like that or wanting the next step to work remotely, please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn and I can get you connected with these IT companies that can help you work remotely. So I hope that that helped answer your questions, Dr. Sulochana.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Anna. Short and sweet, you gave the real answer. Mina, I'm coming to you. So the tourist destination, I would say honeymoon destination for many, and it has badly affected, and especially to the islands and hospitality industry. So how the government is working on the long-term strategy. And after Mina, I would like Shia and Sharala also to reply on that same question, because Maldives also tourist destination and Sri Lanka also. So how tourists can look at it in positively. Please keep it short because I think we are going on the time limitations. Over to you, Minna.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Solo. The government view on how to keep our economy running is their main objective right now is to recover the country from the pandemic and save everybody's life as much as they can. But to sustain the economy structure as it is and not affect to not to ensure not to affect the economic structure, so that once we get over with the pandemic, we can start up from where we left off. So the main objective of the country is to ensure that. Keeping that in mind, since all the hospitality industry, all our resorts are being stopped and the tourism industry is being on hold, and our quarantine facilities and isolations are being done in the resorts right now, we still have few tourists in the country, and they are still finding ways for them to go back to their country. Because of the lockdown, they are stuck here. But if we talk about the number of jobs in the tourism industry, we did have a job portal where people reported, and we had about up to now we have about like 1,800 people who have raised reported in the job center. From it, only 313 were females, and this is this statistics is from 25th of April. But but that can also be possible because tourism in the tourism industry, we had only 7% females working. So we have very few females working in the tourism industry. Thus, most of the people who lost their jobs were from tourism industry, or the people who affected their salaries or got their salaries reduced, or people who were sent to no pay were the tourism industry. Females are working more in the civil servants and in the government fields, and also in the health sector and in the education sector, which is still ongoing, and so they are still getting their salaries and pays. But as I was saying before as well, there has been a lot of because freelance is an industry that a lot of females are working, the makeup artists, beauticians, sewing tailors, and cake makers, bakers, shorted makers. So the relief fund that has been introduced in the country right now doesn't have much categories or varieties that addressed all these categories. So we still have a lot of issues from the females, as who are working in the freelance industry, because not only just females but even the males who are as freelancers, because they don't have any ways to get the fundings. But just last week itself, economic minister has said in the parliament that they are still working on a way to make the relief package bigger and wider so that more people can apply to it. And also they're trying to provide a healthy stimulus package as well. But the issue here is right now we have no way of getting that income in the country, because we were solely dependent on tourism. And thus they have been trying to start up into the, like, go inside into the agricultural sector. So a lot of islands, I mean, even in most of the islands, from the agricultural ministry, they have given lands so people can start up agriculture and farming, and they can start boosting this. And because we were slowly, most of our foods and even our basic necessities were all imported all this time. So we need that agriculture industry, like I think how even in Sri Lanka, where they have been enforcing mostly on the agriculture sector. So we have been targeting more into the agriculture sector. I think the pandemic itself, because of the pandemic, like most of you have said, we are learning a lot, and we are learning compassion, we are learning empathy, we are learning to be kind to each other. So these are some of the things that has been and also uh, working from home was something like most of us never imagined that we could actually be doing. And like most of you said, but once we started to do that, we knew that okay, this is something, maybe this might be our new normal, or we might be considering to have this in our new normal life. But until, even though we are in lockdown, we still all our most of our we still have the restaurants that do takeaways, and we also have the grocery shops that delivers, and they are also open as well. So permit holders can actually do go to these shops and do can buy. But the thing is, most of these shops or businesses are not earned by females. So the female earned businesses like the tailor shops, the salons, all these places have been closed down. So they are still having the overheads onto
So
them.
this is the time the female traditional business tools has to change, because otherwise every time when there's a crisis, it's directly affecting the female. So it's time for female to rethink about business model. Thank you, Minna, for the feedback, and thank you one online, and you're agreeing for the coming online. Shia, I'm coming back to you, Shia, with the tourism industry. As I told you, now most of us says that tourism industry was hit twice now. And but there is a lot of hope, because we have already got the tourist industry saying they have got booking from next year January onwards. But apart from the outbound tourism, lot of local I think hotels are depend on Sri Lankan weddings. And this lockdown really gave them a second chance to rethink about getting married or postponing. How do you think that tourism industry can focus on local tourism first, so then they can get prepared for the international tourism? Within 1.5 minutes, if you can explain, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, just to deviate slightly from your question, I think post-COVID, a lot of our traditional markets, we would have to give them a real reason, I think, to take long-haul flights. And given the fact that we were coming out of a viral epidemic, I think personal well-being would be top of mind for a lot of people. And that is where I think countries like Sri Lanka, with a strong Ayurvedic history, could really draw on our experiences and our cultural practices to engage with others who want to learn more about it. Because you see almost a shift towards a little more spirituality and more traditional forms of medicine for people to engage with. Coming on to your question on local tourism, yeah, that's going to be a challenge. While there's social distancing and you know, in countries like ours, our weddings are not small. They're always they are on the positive side of 300 plus guests. So that really depends on how the country regulations move forward post-COVID. I don't know if Sri Lankan tourists per se can bridge the gap because we were also catering. You have different slabs of the hotels, and at the higher end, I think it'll be hard for them for those hotels and villas and such to depend purely on Sri Lankan tourists. But obviously, it is a gap that can be narrowed by encouraging people. But when there's an economic downturn, it is also that people have less income everywhere, whether it's within the local economy or the global one. But I think Sri Lanka also has an opportunity to encourage neighbors within our South neighborhood and our Southeast Asian neighbors. Maybe because these are short haul flights, and if people want to change, there might be opportunities there as well.
Thank you, Shah. Sharala, you all been advertising the destination of magic and all that in Malaysia. And this is the Ramadan period. And I know you all have these night markets because I have enjoyed it very much. So how now, because Sri Lanka just had the Sinhala Tamil New Year, which is the highest shopping time for Sri Lankan, it was closed. Now Ramadan is for Malaysia, the shopping festival start. But I heard that they all have stopped all the festivals. And now how we all are coping with the Ramadan period, the shopping, because a lot of SMEs are given on the KL town to put up their businesses, but now it has stopped. So how the tourists and Ramadan is coping with post-COVID-19?
That's I'm a Hindu, and we all in Malaysia look forward for these Ramadan bazaars. It's something.
Not only you, I also always come to there during this time.
Exactly. So I think one of the amazing things that's happened about these bazaars is they've gone online. Okay, so I order them online, whatever cultural food that I don't get, within what my mom cooks, we have ordered that online. So that's how amazing this digital platform has become for Malaysia. So they've gone digital. There's a platform just for bazaars to sell, so that helps. In regards to tourism, I think Malaysia probably not as bad as Sri Lanka, but of course we have a huge hospitality industry. Airlines, right? It's been affected very badly in our tourism. I think the thing that we always hope that by end of this year I can go for my winter vacation or summer vacation. That's not. I think we're being too optimistic that's going to happen anytime soon. With the vaccination, 12 months, 18 months, we hope for the best, prepare for the worst. And I think these industries, the government have to think about, in some ways, I think it's temporary. Well, if you want to call 12 months, it could be a lifelong for some of us who are in it. But in a larger scale, it could be temporary, that the government should look at repurposing them. Meanwhile, handouts can only last that long. Bailouts can only last that long, right? So there needs to be a temporary measure for I always call it a short-term strategy and a long-term strategy. So while waiting for things to get back to normal, and I doubt everything will ever get back to normal, then how do you repurpose this industry to help the industry that's really have use for these people? So I think that is something most countries are trying to figure out. And ours is a bit of industry. We have our oil, which crashed last week. And then we also have a digital economy. And I think we're kind of balancing it out along the line. Yeah.
Thank you everyone for coming and agreeing to come online. I think you all were amazing, and we got a lot of Facebook comments saying that good panel and very positively. Whatever happened, sometimes the nature give us a call and remind us that you have to slow down. And that slowdown sometimes irritating also, because when it slow down, the money also slowing down, right? And then when money slow down, our, I would say, the motivation of staying at home is going down. Our annual leave, we was looking forward for family timing, and we said the quality time matters. Now there is too much of quality time, and we were wanted to have family time. Now too much of family time. That annual leave is there. Now no more annual leave. But remember, this period gave us to rethink about our businesses and our employment. We were just focusing on going forward. We were not innovative. We were not thinking out of the box. Only the term was existing to us. We were always talking about think out of the box. But when everything stopped, we found ways to do businesses. We found ways to cope with the family, with the irritating husband, with the irritating wife, with the irritating mother-in-law, and mostly with your young kids. And you learn words from your young kids, and you learn social media platform which you never wanted to start. So look at the positive sides rather than we look at the negative sides. When one door closed, many doors are opening. Thank you so much for the panel, and I hope all the audience who joined us, you all got something positively. And we are trying to do something new, and by Friday we are trying to put a program on mental health for employees who are going back to work on next Monday, hoping that Sri Lanka will open on 11, because they were postponing and giving us, like, ideas only. They are teasing us, but that's for our own good, and Sri Lanka has been doing great. And we had only 7 deaths. I have to give that salute for, and they're having very good control, and everything has been provided. So be safe, and we will change the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Sulochana.